I'm coming from the country where the city is not a turtle, but the best piece of architecture is an umbrella. This umbrella is a building which was built in 1965 in one of the famous new towns of the Netherlands in land gained from the sea. And this building in 1965 contained at the same time sports facilities, a cultural center, the city council, a cinema, and other activities. The building had no walls, and all the activities happened at the same time. So you could go to the cinema and at the same time hear the mayor talk in the city council meeting. There was also a primary school in the corner, and everybody was happy. You see it also in the shape of the long hair people that are in the market standing on the sports floor of this building. This building became, by chance, or maybe even not by chance, a Dutch paradigm because the television started to broadcast from this building. And the building became extremely famous because all the major caritative broadcastings were broadcasted from this building. And so the building became a paradigm of the Dutch post-war society. This Dutch post-war society could be designed or could be described as the makeable society, because the Dutch, of course, have made their country, and because of post-war optimism in the form of these buildings and urban designs, we thought that we could make the society. It became the paradigm of the Labour Party, the makeable society, and it was really an enormous, forceful movement that always makes me very nostalgic in thinking about an open society. And of course, I also have a quest of thinking of an idea of an open city. So in that wake, we have decided to call the International Architecture Biennale in Rotterdam in 2009, from September to January, Open City. And Open City is not conceived as a kind of dogmatic set of criteria. What is an open city? Open city is a quest. We don't know exactly what it is. It is not, for instance, the copyright of Richard Sennett, because if you Google open city, you get about 35,000 hits. These 35,000 hits are, for instance, a coffee bar in Washington, D.C., an NGO serving the third world development, or a film by Rossellini. We are dividing this open city quest in 6 sub-themes. One of them is squat, the second one that you can see, and we are going to take a lot of the projects that were shown in this conference to show Europe and the Netherlands what a new kind of negotiating urban design is about. Because I was very moved by the presentations, especially yesterday, about Medellin and about Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, because it really shows that these projects declare Brazil or Latin America as the new avant-garde for urban renewal. Because Europe has too much formality, in the United States as well. The third world has no money and has not enough urban culture. But here is a combination of urban culture, money, and the kind of urgency that creates these specific buildings. So I'm very grateful that we are going to implement these projects in our exhibition. Open City as a quest you can find on all kinds of levels. This is, for instance, a neighborhood that we built in about 15 years ago in Amsterdam. It's a very dense neighborhood with 100 houses per hectare. It's 50% social housing, 50% sales. The public space is for 75% divided into allotments, which means that almost every house, every apartment has an allotment, and it leads to the fact there's no vandalism, and that there's no problem with security. Front doors are on grade level. There's a maximum of 10 front doors on one staircase, and all the grade units are double height units so that they can be changed into microeconomic activities. It's a very simple set of devices that creates a neighborhood that is quite socially sustainable. I would like to talk about this diagram with you on 3 levels. The left diagram is more or less the tendency that our cities are taking. And on the right-hand side, maybe is my dream, my idea of what the city should be. On the left-hand side, if we look at this diagram from a point of view of spatial aspect, you see a segregation of neighborhoods, campuses, compounds, gated communities divided by stations of railways or by highways. On the right-hand side, you see an open system of streets and squares that house communities, could be universities, could be a Spanish neighborhood or whatever, that interact with each other within a kind of open system. On the level of social aspect, on the left-hand side, you see the increasing segregation of social diversity, inequality in social groups. And on the right-hand side, you see maybe a model for an integrative thinking about social cohesion. And on the level of process, if you look at this diagram, you can see on the left-hand side an increasing segregation of different authorities and parties and interest groups that do not communicate, and on the right-hand side, a dream of a kind of open system which works. People think that these open cities only exist in old parts of town in 19th century neighborhoods. Like, for instance, the LSE, which is not a university. It's a kind of squad of a couple of people that invaded a neighborhood. And it also is a proof, on the one hand, that you do not have to design a university, because this is the best condition for a university that you can have. In the periphery and in the city, however, we are confronted with this segregation. On the left-hand side, you see the edge of Rotterdam, where you see this kind of monofunctional linked constructions with motorways and housing compounds. On the right-hand side, you see the Isle of Dogs, cut off by Canary Wharf and having a kind of ring along the Thames of gated communities, which makes it very difficult to access the riverfront. So it's a very difficult condition. And of course, we have been talking about it all the time. And it is not so easy to work with these ideas, with these dreams in reality. For instance, I can show you some examples. We're working on the HafenCity in Hamburg, which is a new extension of the city center. It's a very capitalist development, but although it is a capitalist development, we are working on it because we think that we can create a robust structure of streets, networks, and public spaces in combination with rules that create a future for that area, no matter if on this moment it is rather a capitalist development, and maybe later it turns gradually into something else. Like many, many neighborhoods, like you saw in the LSE, are changing by the time completely of function and culture. This map, for me, is the most important map of this project. It merely shows the grid. It merely shows the network of communication of this piece of city, and the blue fields are building fields on top of which, according to certain rules, we let architects build buildings that always try to escape the rules, which is good because that creates friction, and friction creates a certain amount of contradiction, of richness, and of individual influencing each other. You see also that we limit scale of buildings. We leave the first levels flexible of grade level, and we do not care about architecture. Like was said before, the style of architecture is completely unimportant in developing these kind of schemes. One of our big victories in this scheme was that we prevented the scheme to become a closed shopping center in its center. This is the center, and it was by 5 out of 7 parties that tendered for this center. Were all closed shopping malls with only offices on top of it, and we managed to make this project, which is a kind of fine network of streets and squares, which has a mixed-use development, creating this center. We are trying also to work on the Olympic legacy in London, and maybe you know this map. It's the map from Mr. Abercrombie from before the war. It's the most beautiful urban design ID maybe, or urban design drawing that was ever made. It consists of a set of potatoes, the boroughs and districts of which London is conceived around the center and along the Thames. And you see highlighted in the top diagram on the left, you see Hyde Park with the Chelsea area and some other boroughs around it. And the idea is to take on the east side in the lower diagram the Olympic legacy site after the Olympic Games and change it into such a kind of complex of potatoes around the central park. We have to work to turn a completely gated community, the biggest gated community that you conceive, into an open system. And this open system is being achieved basically by creating a fantastic connective tissue of streets and places, on top of which neighborhoods can be developed. To show you a detail of it, all the red dots that you see in this picture are dead-end streets that now prevent a communication between the different neighborhoods that are in this area on this moment. And we hope that we can arrive at a principle in which we develop a kind of zipper, in which the connectivity, like you see in the left-hand diagram, will take care that the east part of the center of London and East London will be connected forever and create a breeding ground on top of which diversity will grow. Thank you very much.